Welcome to Life with Long COVID with me, Paul Clark. It's estimated that around 400 million people are suffering from the effects of what is now called Long COVID globally. There are probably many more people suffering but not able to articulate what is wrong with them. This podcast was started for one reason and one reason only: that those suffering will not feel like they're on their own. Welcome to Life with Long COVID. My name is Paul Clark, and this podcast is all about how it feels to live with Long COVID. If we've not met before, it's nice to meet you. If you're a returner, thank you for coming back. I really appreciate you listening to these episodes, to responding to my articles, for all the messages and emails that I get. I really, really appreciate it. This week's episode comes from the UK, which is slowly becoming spring. I say slowly because we seem to have a couple of good days and then a cold day. But generally speaking, it's got a spring in its step, the UK at the moment. But I know that you are listening from a wide range of places: Canada, Australia, and many parts of Europe. So you will be experiencing very different weather systems to me. I just thought I'd set the scene so you know where the episodes are recorded from. I record them from my study, which overlooks a rather nice lake, of which a single swan has been milling about now for probably the best part of a week. I don't know why said swan is on its own. I don't know why it wanders about on the field in front of me, but it's sort of swimming alone, and it's a bit sad, really. I feel like it needs some friends, and I'm watching it now as I record this. So there you go. You get the full visualization this morning or this afternoon, or depending when you're listening to it. This week, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. The first is just to update you on the latest of my condition, because that's why we're here, right? And in my article at the beginning of this week, I detailed about my oxygen therapy that I've been having. I won't go into it because you can read it or listen to it in previous episodes. But this week was my first week of going to a depth of, or metaphorical depth, pressurization of 24 feet, which previously was 16. And I've also had 2 oxygen treatments this week rather than the one which I have been having. I have to say, I have improved. I've been noticeably less tired. I have been, my mobility's improved, so I've been walking short distances without a stick. I have been trying to do a bit of DIY around the house, which is always a sign that I've got a bit more energy, because I hate DIY, but there's jobs that need doing around the house, and you know, I've had just a bit more energy to be able to get on and start to do those things. I'm not very good at it. And some of it's failed, but you know, you got to take advantage, right? Because you're never quite sure where these windows of energy, how long they'll last for. Brain fog has pretty much largely gone. I have to say that was the first thing that the oxygen therapy helped with, and this week, because I've had it twice, whereas before it would kind of wear off after a few days. At the moment, and I'm recording this a day after my second session, I haven't got brain fog, which is pretty amazing, really. It might sound like I have, but I haven't. And that for me is a big thing, you know, to be able to kind of think and kind of be in the moment without that kind of woolly headedness that we get through long COVID has been great. My sleeping still needs to get better, and I know sleeping is something that many of us struggle with long COVID. I haven't really slept properly since I've had long COVID, and it's not because, you know, resting during the day. I try not to sleep during the day now if I can possibly avoid it. I don't know what it is, but I know it's not unusual. I know many people have come and commented that their sleep is disrupted as well. So I still need to conquer that. I still need to conquer the sleep thing. I keep getting recommended magnesium, and I have been taking magnesium for best part of a year now, and it's okay. I think it helps a little bit, which is why I haven't stopped it. Sometimes though, I think I'm just producing very expensive urine. You know what I mean? All these supplements we take, they go in, they go out, and it's quite an expensive way to get rid of your money. But I'll keep trying. I'll keep trying, and I'll carry on with the magnesium and make adjustments as I go along. So that's where I am at the moment. But it's with a little bit of improvement. Of course, you're never quite sure how long that's going to last for. It may be that the oxygen treatment is gradually improving my baseline, and it will be permanent or fairly permanent. It may be this is a blip, and it just so happens that I'm having a good period at the moment anyway. It may be coincidental, and the brain fog might return, and my mobility might diminish again. That is the nature of this chronic illness that we have. It changes day to day, hour to hour. And what people don't really talk about is the kind of emotional impact of that. The emotional impact for me at the moment is this kind of improvement, which is joy-bringing and gives me hope. But also, I have a sense of foreboding that it's all going to end this afternoon or tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because we just don't know. And my whole life is also built around being ill, being chronically ill. Like, I've got a mobility aid for every single thing. I receive help and support for being ill, and I'm very grateful for that. But when you start to get a little bit of an improvement, like I have for the last few weeks, then you have to start renegotiating all those things once again. Do I need a stick now to walk short distances? Well, I've managed this week to do a couple of short walks without a stick, which is amazing. Does that mean I don't need the stick anymore? I don't know. Next week I may need it again, but this week has been a win. What about my scooter and my wheelchair? How much am I going to need those? Do I really need those anymore? Well, yes, I suspect I do, because I can only walk still a short distance. But as my condition continues, and if it continues to get better, my baseline improves, I'm going to have to negotiate the help and support I get and make those decisions about whether I still need the aids that I have. And if this is making any sense at all, then I'm really pleased. What I'm saying is there's an emotional impact of all of this. There is he or isn't he? Am I getting better? I'm not getting better. In some ways, it's when you're in the middle and you just think this is going to be me for the rest of my life, at least you kind of accept it then. But I'm kind of faced at the moment with improvements from oxygen therapy, which may well continue. There's no reason why it shouldn't continue either. I've still got to go. I've got to finish this round at 24 feet, and then I've got the potential of going to 33 feet. And if my experience so far is replicated, then I will recover even more. And as I tell you that, I realise that you may not be in that position. So I get that, but I also get where you are as well, because I've been there. So, I'm hoping some of this hits people where they are as well at the moment. So, yeah, emotional impacts, he says, waffling. Sorry about that. Emotional impact is real, and I feel like I'm in a roller coaster ride at the moment of, I could be better. Oh, one day I could go back to work, and then, but it might not last more than a day. Oh, maybe this is just going to be roller coaster ride from now on. That kind of stuff, and that goes through my mind and my heart probably several times a day, and it's exhausting. And the only way that's going to be resolved is by continuing with high dose oxygen treatment, is by continuing to take the advice of the centre and to gradually more and more increase that dose and depth. And I'll report back to you. Long COVID has been in the news a bit this week, which has been really good. I love seeing long COVID in the news because it means people are actually talking about it, which also gives me hope that some medical professionals might actually recognise it as a thing. Two rare areas I've noticed this week. One of them is an outcome of a study in high dose vitamin D intake amongst people with COVID and people with long COVID. And when I ran the whole article through ChatGPT, which is the only way I can really read it because, it's too much to read in its entirety, the basic headline is that vitamin D is proven not so much to be beneficial for those with COVID. There's no evidence to suggest that the outcome's better with vitamin D when you've got the virus. But certainly for those of us with long COVID, there is some evidence from that one study which suggests that a higher dose of vitamin D might help. I actually was taking vitamin D in fairly high dose up until I think the back end of last year, when I had one of those, I'm so fed up with taking tablets, I'm going to chuck them all out and not take any again moment, which we all get sometimes. But I may well, on the basis of that, reintroduce vitamin D to kind of help it in conjunction with this oxygen therapy that I'm doing at the moment. So once again, I'll get back on and spend some more money on supplements. The other thing that's been in the news is mast cell activation syndrome. Now, I can't explain to you what mast cell activation syndrome is because I'm not a doctor, but basically it's when my layman's take on it is that your histamines go mental when you're ill. They go into fight or flight mode, and they cause some of the symptoms which we have in long COVID. Now, this has been rumbling on throughout the last 5 years that I've had long COVID, and 2 years ago I spoke to my AGP, I say my doctor, it's AGP that I happened to get that day, and explained to them that there is some randomised individual anecdotal evidence that long COVID can cause symptoms of mast cell activation syndrome, and therefore may be an explanation for some of the symptoms that we have. And the doctor at the time was very sympathetic and prescribed me 3 different types of antihistamines. And I won't go into what they are. You need to get them prescribed if this is something that you might want to follow up. And I did find that they reduced fatigue. I actually did. By the back end of last year, though, I'd been taking them for about 2 years, and I was at that stage, like I was with the vitamin D, of thinking I just take too many tablets. I've still got long COVID. I'm not taking them anymore, so I ditched the lot. But I think that was rash, because since I stopped taking that combination of antihistamines, I definitely got more tired, which is interesting. The other thing I've noticed is when I eat certain foods, then I feel awful. And case in point, last night we were meant to have something for tea and didn't work out for one reason or another, so we ended up just having pizza, and I felt terrible after eating pizza. But of course, when you explore it a bit more, pizza's one of those histamine red flags that it's got all the right ingredients. It's got like tomatoes, aged cheese and doughy bread in one little nice package, which is why it's so gorgeous, right? But it also tends to make your histamines go crazy. Again, not medical, that's what I'm calling it. And I definitely felt awful last night. So last night I've decided to start taking the antihistamines again in conjunction with vitamin D. So I'm back on these kind of supplements, and see if, in conjunction with the high dose oxygen therapy, if I can really give it a good blast between now and maybe the end of the year, and to see where I am and to see how far I've improved. That's a plan. And that's the news this week. Little long COVID news roundup for you. It was in the news again this week that these histamines can help long COVID patients. And maybe it's something worth exploring with your doctor if you haven't already. But the chances are you've probably been through, like me, every single supplement and medication that people have recommended, most of which have had no real effect. It's only really the vitamin D and the antihistamines that have ever made any difference to me as far as supplements is concerned, I have to say. But we're all different and we've all got different symptoms. So, I'm on this emotional roller coaster of a journey. How are you doing? I hope this episode reaches you well. Well, I say well as you can be, and that you are finding small pockets of joy in amongst your day, whatever you manage to do or don't manage to do. All this has reminded me, of course, that chronic illness is not just physical. It raises our emotions. We go through cycles of hope and despair, and most days we're in the middle and alternate between those two quite regularly. It's really good to be with fellow people who are going through a similar thing. So look, reach out if you're going through it at the moment. You can comment on this podcast. If you go to www.lifewithlongcovid.co.uk, you'll find the kind of community page there. It's got articles, it's got these podcast episodes. Even if you listen to them through Apple or Spotify or wherever, you can still visit that website and you can comment on the episodes, you can comment on my articles, you can even chat with me directly. And I want to just kind of open that up and say, if you feel like you're having a bad day and you just need to talk to somebody who gets it, then reach out. Either post a chat with me or with the whole community, and you'll find just a group of people who just get it, and you can just blast it off, just get it off your chest, because sometimes that's what we need to do. Equally, don't feel afraid, like me, of sharing wins. You know, if you're feeling a bit better and you kind of get this emotional impact of it all, and a constant renegotiation of our symptoms when they're either relieved or get worse. Get in touch, let me know how you're doing. And until next episode, I'll see you again soon.